and MILFs, oh my.
It's only 2. It's excellent. Is your marriage headed for divorce?
Plus live love advice.
On today's episode of
The Game Over Show.
Totally see our intro. Oh my god, it was like on today's episode of The Game Over Show, right? Like either
we're
like
trained seals at this point.
Or we're that bird that drinks out of the water, right? Like the bird that like drinks like this.
No, I know which one you're talking about, but it's why I clap. I'm a trained seal.
Oh, well, you know, we're gonna start with something that gets us the hell out of this disaster because we already had one train wreck this week.
Yeah, we did. Yesterday's show, all his fault.
Right, and the day before show. All somebody's fault. Fiona's. It's Fiona's fault.
Hey, can we talk about the pulse?
Let's, please. So, at facebook.com/theproblemismen, my fan page.
Charles's amazing fan page.
Thank you. We put out surveys and polls just to get the pulse of what's happening in the world of relationships, women and men.
Yep.
So I'm going to sound like Richard Dawson, right? 1,000 people responded. Top 5 answers on the board. Here's the question.
Peanut butter.
And that's our show. Thank you for joining us.
Anyway.
Moving
on.
So there's these terms that are out there, right? Cougar and MILF.
Ooh, yes, there are.
Right.
And there's also, because people are having babies so young, GILF.
There's GILF?
Yes.
Is that the grandma I'd like to frequently talk to?
Yes.
Got it.
Yes.
Wow. Well, I don't know. What would I be? Like a DILF if I were deemed something? A dad I'd like to...
You wish.
I don't know. Well, people tell me to go fuck myself all the time, so...
So if the label fits.
Right. So... Cougar and MILF.
Cougar and MILF.
We asked 1,000 people, you know, are these...
Do you want one?
Are they...
Good pets. What you're going to name your daughter.
Things a monkey would say. Like, what? Playing Password all of a sudden. We went from Richard Dawson to Password.
I'm in a game show mood, people.
Oh my god.
Game over.
So, 1,000 people, Cougar, MILF, derogatory terms, empowering terms, what are they? 1,000 responses.
Okay, so that's the question.
1,000 responses. 81% felt they were derogatory.
Felt both of them were.
Yes.
Both Cougar and MILF. And
MILF derogatory. MILF more than Cougar, percentage-wise.
Okay.
But, and some of the comments really alluded to that. But, I mean, it's a
Cougar
highly...
derogatory? I thought it was like an empowering
Well, so others found it empowering, positive terms in terms of sexuality, confidence... But,
and not being done just because you're past a certain age. Like, ladies, we can be in our 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond and be bagging those young guys. Cougar!
See, but you end up looking at Cougar Town where you have 40-year-olds acting like they're 18.
Yeah, but that's not even a show about cougars anymore.
Well,
I think for like 2 episodes it was. And even they admit that that's the worst name for that show.
What's it about now?
40-year-olds who hang around and drink. They love their wine. It should be called Wine Town.
Nice. That's my show. We're asking all kinds of other questions, too. If you want to be involved, head over to facebook.com/thegameovershow.
I'm not done. So they felt it was derogatory. What were some of the comments? I want to know specifically on Cougar why they felt like that was not empowering.
Some people just thought being labeled as a whole was a bad thing, right?
Labeled as a whole? I would find that derogatory, too.
They found that being labeled, comma, as a whole, comma... was producer Fiona's lost it. So
much.
You should never be labeled a whole.
No, it's 100% was it that's derogatory.
The show's live. Can you tell?
And we're not even drinking.
Not yet. That's tomorrow.
Tomorrow's show. Game Over on the go in Vegas. We are in trouble, people. All right.
Can we go to He Said, She Said, please? Fiona! this is your first time watching the show, we're very sorry, right? Go watch one of the archive versions. It's really much better. So,
this is what happens when we do an hour of Game Over on the Radio earlier in the day. Wednesdays sometimes are Game Over on the Radio days, and by the time we get here, oh shit.
As a whole. So, today's topic, so if you're joining us for the first time, I'm Charles Gerlando, and this is Lisa Stedman.
Hi!
Right. We are
professionals.
That's the rumor. We're brought to you every day by a variety of different sponsors, and we'll get to one of them in a little bit.
We broadcast Monday through Friday right here on Facebook, 2 p.m.
Right.
Pacific,
5 p.m. Eastern,
10 p.m. London, 9 a.m. in Sydney.
Sydney.
Oh, are we doing that in-sync bird thing again?
And we are. So, but today's on He Said, She Said, we are talking about, is your marriage headed for divorce? I think this is really important.
I do too, and so we're going to take it seriously, I promise. We just have a lot of fun on the show, but we like bringing you the street smart truth to help you have better relationships. And specifically, today's topic is your marriage headed for divorce? Because January is actually the most common month that people file for divorce. Get through the holidays, suddenly January, and we found out that the most common day is the first day the kids go back to school. Yikes!
Well, because they wait out the holidays because it's the right
Yeah.
thing to do, and then they end up, taking care of business afterwards.
Yeah.
So, but,
I can't look at you.
Thank you.
Really well.
So, but these are like some key signs into what happens when your marriage is headed for divorce, or when co-hosts are headed for divorce, right? So
Don't divorce me, please.
no, I was just a train wreck a second ago. But but these aren't. So, firstly, as we get into this list, these are not be all end alls, right?
No.
I mean, we're talking.
We're not talking in absolutes.
Yeah, these are some very general things to look out for, and you put them together, and you end up with something that's not so good, right? So let's take the first one.
Yeah, so what we're really looking to do with today's show is give you the heads up if your marriage is starting to head down a path that you'd like to course correct on. So specifically, the first sign that your marriage might be in trouble. Let's start there. Let's not say divorce. Let's say might be in trouble.
Right. It's definitely something to pay attention to.
Yeah. And I've talked to so many women, as have you, about this. When one partner stops trying.
Right. When they stop putting in, right?
Yeah.
And that's really telltale. I mean,
well,
and what do you mean by trying, though, Lisa?
Yeah, and this is an important distinction because, relationships are a lot about communication and sometimes about compromise. And so let's say you're in a relationship and you're not getting your needs met, or let's say you're in a relationship and something isn't working.
Right.
A lot of times people don't talk about those things, but if you are talking to your partner, if you are communicating and they're not willing to meet you halfway, they're not willing to communicate, they're really just flat out saying, I don't care about that, I don't care if you're unhappy, I'm not interested in changing, that's what we're talking about here.
Sure, and it's where you're greeted with a brick wall. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not interested, I'm not motivated, I won't do anything.
Yeah, I'm happy the way things are. And, if it's working for them and not working for you, that's a challenge.
Right, and that's not necessarily a sign that you're about to get divorced. Again, these are key trouble signs that say your relationship is like in trouble, right?
Yeah, and again, we're bringing this up because this is a common month for divorce, so we want to give you the signs so that you can, again, course correct if possible, or at least know where you're headed and what to do about it.
And a lot of these signs also can be shown in other long-term relationships, even
Absolutely.
dating. Like our second one here, a lack of respect in the relationship. And oftentimes that's shown, for me, one of the telltale signs of a lack of respect isn't only what they say to you when you're around, but what they say about you to other people when you're not.
Ooh,
that's really like, well, because you end up hearing it on the back roads, right? About how they really feel or what they really think about you, about everything as regards your relationship. So it's not only...
what are some signs, because I like that, how they talk about you to other people, but what are like some everyday, just normal signs of a lack of respect, that respect is no longer there?
Tone of voice,
Ooh,
how things are phrased, for sure.
Yeah.
So we talked, and I think a lack of respect also talks about how you argue, right?
Oh,
I mean, because there's got to be rules to arguing. But I tell you what, though, like there's 3 top things that couples fight about, and we've mentioned them a bunch of times: sex, money, and kids. But that's not the most common. The most common thing that people fight about is nothing at all. They fight about some little bullshit
Raise
that doesn't
your hand
even matter.
if you've ever
all
been
of us.
there.
All of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Hands, feet, all.
It always starts with something stupid and insignificant, and before you know it, it turns into something that's ridiculous because it escalates like that.
I gotta stop you right there. I was out to dinner with a friend of mine, and the table next to us, I swear this couple got married and broke up in the same meal. Like, it was so back and forth. Their body language was weird and confusing and loving and like, I was like, what the what? But what I felt from them was that he was overcompensating and she had no respect for him.
Ooh.
It was awful. It was awful. I was like, she doesn't look like a whole lot of fun to be in a relationship.
Well, and oftentimes you can't see it when you're in the relationship.
Yeah. He looked like he was trying really hard, and she was not having any of it.
Well, I would bet you a lot of money that there's history there of him doing something, and he's trying to compensate now, and she's like, too late, buddy.
And who knows? Like, who knows what that dynamic was? I saw a slice of it, but it was so crazy, the energy of, like, they were connected, they were apart, there was cold, there was like
crazy.
It was wild, and I thought, oh, thank God I'm not in those relationships anymore. Oh, Lint in the studio from the Fluffy Pillows.
It's my fluffy pillow.
Oh.
All right, so number 3.
Yep.
You're no longer a team.
Oh, God. This is hard. I'm tired thinking about this. Do you know how hard it is to be in a relationship with someone who's not on your team? That's exhausting.
It is very tough.
You might as well be single. Like, you're pulling all this weight, you're doing all this stuff, and nobody's there with you doing it.
Right. I mean, somebody who loves you is going to build you up, not tear you down.
Yeah.
So they are going to be on your team. Now, if they're tearing you down, there's something on the back end of whatever they're feeling that brings that here. that brings whatever don't start.
I'm saying don't start over there.
But, so, I mean, if they're no longer on your team...
you're no longer a team. Is that like... you don't spend time together? Is that you normally share house duties and now everything's on you? You're asking for your needs
It's a separation.
Yeah.
You know, what we're describing here is kind of a separation between the two people.
So you're coexisting,
right?
But you're not really living.
You're maintaining, not living.
You're maintaining, and you're probably more like roommates at this point. Who's been there?
Right. Well, and sometimes this happens, especially when there's a child involved, right?
Ouch.
So you end up like working on the kids. But then
forget about you
and you forget about each other, and yourself too.
Yeah.
So it ends up this self-fulfilling prophecy. Everything makes sense with kids. Kids get removed from the dynamic, and you're like, "Who are you? I don't remember you."
And I really don't care about you right now because I'm not on this team anymore.
Right.
That one's a really hard one. So for people who are nodding and empathizing and commiserating, because especially if you've got young kids, remember to always make time for the relationship in addition to the time you spend co-parenting. And make time for you. You gotta, and I know it's exhausting. I've been there.
Right.
But find some time for all those pieces because you gotta have you gotta have your relationship. You don't have to, but you get to, and you got the baby too.
Definitely.
Yeah. But not being on the same team, that one sucks.
Fourth one,
you're not communicating.
Right, and I would take this one step further, because communication for a lot of people means waiting for your turn to speak.
I love when you say this. So. Talk to us about communication, Charles.
I'm going to now say something about communication.
It's really brilliant the way you describe it.
Well, so many people think communication is to speak. And you end up advocating your view, and you're just waiting for your turn to do that. Most of the breakdown happens, in my experience anyway, when you stop listening and empathizing. And that's when it's done. When you can't identify with where they're coming from, whether you agree or not is separate, right?
I'm listening.
But
I'm empathizing. I'm modeling this behavior.
And I appreciate it.
I think the way you talk about this is really important because it's a distinction between wanting to be heard and be right versus hearing the other person and having a mutual exchange.
Right.
Yeah. So communication is key. If the communication has broken down, how do you get it back?
You have to bring it out in the open. It's the elephant, right? I mean, it's the elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about.
I mean, that's the irony of it is you got to talk about the fact that you're not talking.
Right.
Be willing to have the hard conversations. If you feel like there's something in the way, you've got to talk about it. Otherwise, your relationship is headed down a path that you may not be able to recover from.
3 more to go, but you know what?
It's sponsor time.
Hey. Our sponsor today is Your Tango.
We love Your Tango. We're actually hanging out with Your Tango in Vegas. Woo, woo, woo.
Definitely. YourTango.com. Great place to go for real advice and
great relationship site dedicated to all stages of relationships: single, married, divorced, breaking up, interested in finding somebody, widowed, all different areas of relationships. Gives you great resources, great articles, great videos, great experts.
Definitely. And we'll be there at the iDate conference with Your Tango tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be fun and drunk.
And drunk. All right. Well,
just stating the obvious.
We double dog dare you to join the show tomorrow.
I'm scared. I'm just putting that out there.
Right. It's going to be like 3-card poker / martini / show.
Oh, see, I don't gamble, so I don't know about that first part. I just know that he's a lightweight, so I'm going to drink him under the table, and maybe I'll take his money and go gamble.
See, and I'm gambling just doing the show tomorrow while we're drinking. So, all right.
Okay.
3 more to go.
Yep.
Emotional or physical infidelity.
Yeah, so again, we're talking about signs that your marriage may be headed for divorce, but this really goes back to any relationship, signs your relationship might be in trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, if somebody's being infidelal.
How dare you be infidelal?
if somebody is cheating, obviously. So this is
but it's not so I want to clarify, emotional cheating is it's a hot button issue that I don't think enough people talk about. You know, oh, I'm instant messaging with my boyfriend from high school on Facebook, but it's innocent. Well, you know what?
Sure it is.
Not so much.
Lie.
Yeah.
I don't buy it.
I don't buy it either. I really don't. So emotional infidelity and physical infidelity, different things. Sometimes they're wrapped up under the same tree. Still,
but that isn't
wrong, game over.
But the reason I think we're bringing it up here is that those two things are not the issue in the relationship. No. They're symptoms of something that's already taking place.
Yes. You're not getting your needs met in the relationship. You're going elsewhere. You're not satisfied. You don't feel like you're being heard. You don't feel appreciated or valued, or like they find you sexy. And it's really, if you're feeling like that's missing and you're not getting your needs met, some people wander elsewhere.
No doubt. Did they do that?
I'm very sing-songy today, I'm noticing.
I noticed.
Me.
Okay. Sex is usually the last thing to go. So if you're
Talk
not
to us
sleeping...
about this, because you're the first person who's ever said this to me.
Well, most people, I mean, everybody has physical needs, right? So either you're going to rub it out yourself or you're going to figure it out with whoever you're living with, right? So that's just real. I mean, well, you know. So... but the truth of it is that that's usually one of the last things to go in a relationship that isn't working.
I'm so surprised by this. Maybe because I'm in a relationship with a man who, like, for him, sex is so much about emotions that I would think it would be the first thing to go.
Right. Well, and for a lot of people it is. Again, we're speaking not in absolutes, but for a majority of people.
So this is like, maybe it's habit, it's part of the relationship, you're getting your physical needs met.
Right. And maybe some of your emotional, because when you're in bed, things are different, right? Yeah. So it's, you know, it doesn't have all the shit and all the stuff after it.
Sometimes it does. Sometimes all that just shows up.
But there's a lot of people who, like, are going through a divorce still sleeping with their spouse.
Yes, that's true. And I call game over on that. Way to not move on.
Right, no doubt. But people still connect in that way, and then they don't move on. So that's it. So, but that brings us to the worst one, in my opinion.
This one, if you've ever felt it, it feels so cold and uncomfortable and painful.
The worst symptom, I think, that you can see in a relationship that's getting ready to either break or is already broken is indifference.
Ouch.
Where you just don't care what they do, what they don't do, sleep together, don't sleep together, home, not, call me, don't, whatever.
It's the worst. The worst.
Well, you're already checked out.
But so if the other person is behaving that way towards you, it's such a slap in the face and a bold statement of you don't matter to me.
Right.
And there's nothing worse than feeling irrelevant to the person you are supposed to be the closest to or in love with.
Insignificance is the worst.
Oh.
The worst.
Feeling irrelevant. Oh my God. At that point, is there any way to fix a relationship?
Once indifference comes in, I think that's pretty much the swan song.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much it. Did we miss something? We want to know.
Yeah.
Head over to facebook.com/The Game Over Show. We want to know what we missed, and we want to know what we got right. So leave a comment there. Let us know what you think.
Send us an email. We love hearing from you.
Yeah, definitely. And
it's time for Live Love Advice.
Smart Love Advice brought to you every single day here on The Game Over Show.
Yep.
If you have a question, go to facebook.com/The Game Over Show. Click the message button. Mm-hmm. We get it confidentially. We keep you anonymous here.
Yeah, and if we've given you advice in the past and you want to come back and tell us how things are going, please do that. We love hearing from you again, seeing how our Street Smart advice is helping you rock your love life.
So this first question comes in from N.
Hi, N.
N says, how does one deal with fear in rushing into a relationship? I've been involved with a guy for the last 2 months, but it feels like a part of me rushed into the relationship. I think he loves me. 2 months.
You did nudge me there, right?
There I did.
Okay.
We went through this yesterday. She thought I
he was nudging me the whole show, and he wasn't.
But 2 months they've been together, and she feels like she's rushing into it. So what do you think about that?
Well, if she feels like she's rushing in, it must be moving too fast for you.
No doubt. Pay attention to your gut.
Yeah. So here's something tweetable. You were so tweetable on Woohoo Radio today.
Here we go.
Your gut, you'll never say, I wish I hadn't listened to my gut.
I agree completely.
Intuition, there's a reason we have it, ladies. We are very, when we tune in, we are very wise. I'm not making sense right now. But what I would say is if you're feeling like you rushed, maybe number one, he's putting pressure on you. He's moving faster than you want. And number two, it's not the pace you want, so you gotta say something about that. Just because it's working for him, this pace, doesn't mean it's working for you. Have you talked to him about it?
No doubt. Pay attention to your gut, for sure.
The other thing I want to say is, if you feel like you're rushing, it could also be that this isn't the right person for you. But I really encourage you to first check in and see how you're feeling about how his pace is. Have you talked to him about it? And go from there.
And be careful with that word love after just a month or so. Let things kind of progress. Right?
Yeah.
All right. Next comes in from D, who's a gay man.
Hi, D.
D asks, how do you stop yourself from falling for straight men?
Oh, Charles, how do you stop yourself?
How do I stop myself from falling for straight men? D, we're not making fun of you. Lisa's just giving me shit.
We're not.
So what you're really describing, so here's what people don't know is that a lot of the relationship dynamics in gay or straight relationships are virtually identical. Everybody has masculine and feminine pieces.
Yeah.
And it's the same for gay relationships. So what Dee's really describing, at least for me, is trying to catch the unattainable. Oh,
is that what that's about?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the challenge of catching something that's unattainable. Whether it's a woman going after the bad boy to convert him over to the nice guy, or whether it's him chasing a unicorn, which is sorry. So
unicorn. I like unicorns.
Well, so it says a couple things to me at least.
Okay.
So it says two things. You're trying to go after something that you're never going to catch. Or if you do catch them, how real is it going to be? So then you're setting yourself up for long-term failure.
So does that go back to belief systems?
As far as?
Well, if you're chasing somebody who you know is unattainable, is that about what you think you deserve?
Well, it's either, that was the second thing I was going to say, either he doesn't deserve it, or he is afraid of making himself available to someone who is available for him.
Oh, Hey, Dee, will you write into us and let us know which one it is? Because this is such an important question for you. If you want a beautiful, happy, healthy relationship, the other person, number one, clearly needs to be gay. But number two, get to know yourself and accept that you deserve a great relationship.
Sure.
Yeah.
And if you don't want a relationship, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. But don't be looking to hook up with straight guys because they're not the ones,
They're going to, even if they do end up hooking up and they end up curious, they're going to break your heart because they're not going to stay. Unless they're secretly gay.
Game over.
Yeah, game over to all that. Yep. Write us back. I want to know.
Yeah, but thanks so much for emailing us. That was a good question.
This comes in from T.
Hi, T.
So T is writing in about something that I posted
a
while back. And what I wrote was, unspoken expectations are the worst. You have to know yours and can never sacrifice them, but no one can read your mind.
Yes.
You have to communicate about unspoken expectations. If you don't tell your partner, how can you expect them to fulfill what you want?
Amen.
So T writes in and says, what happens when you communicate your feelings, but the discussion ends in arguments, and you explain how you're feeling and suggest counseling, and nothing ever comes of it? She's written 2 letters to her significant other. They've suggested counseling, and she suggested counseling and asked him to take the bull by the horns, but he doesn't participate.
Wow.
Why should I feel like nothing is going to change.
Right.
And from what you're describing...
So that sounds like one of the earlier signs that your relationship is breaking down. Because I don't know if that's indifference or lack of respect, but he's certainly not hearing you or responding
and he's
in a
not
favorable
on your team.
way. And he's not on your team. And what was that other one? Refusing to try. Sounds like he's refusing to try. Here's the challenge in a relationship when you're asking for your needs to be met and the other person is not hearing you, is for whatever reason, the relationship is working for them. But if it's not working for you, you need to do something different. You've asked for your needs to be met. You've written letters. You've done that whole thing. If it's still not working, that's a choice for you to either change your expectation and accept his behavior or her behavior, regardless of who it is.
Boo.
Boo. Or decide that you deserve what you want and deserve, and game over to him.
Well, see, we talked about this on the radio today.
Yeah, we did.
So there's a difference between compromise and sacrifice. So what you were describing here, if you continue past this point, you will be sacrificing your core needs. Compromise is where everybody meets in the middle. But sacrifice doesn't work. It builds resentment. So it may work for a short period of time, but it's over in the long term. Unless you completely sell yourself out and you don't give a shit about you.
And we want you to give a shit about you.
Definitely.
So keep on your team.
Right.
Yeah. Keep us posted on that.
Please do.
Yeah.
All right. So our last question comes in from C.
Hi, C.
C started dating a guy about a month ago.
Okay.
And after their first date, he was always the one who would initiate contact, but now he's dropped back.
Okay.
When I asked if he was still interested, he said yes, he was. And so when I asked if he was still interested, and I know I shouldn't have.
Oh, no judgments.
No. He said he was busy with work and he wanted to take things slow. So I gave him space, but he hasn't texted or called in almost a week. He only sent me a message on Facebook 4 days ago saying work was crazy and he wanted to talk to me and that he was going to call me, and then he never did. Now I'm still waiting.
Dude.
Yes, he is. Why? So can I sum this up?
Yeah.
See, why are you making someone a priority when you've only been their option?
Bingo, ding, 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 ding. It's like a convenience store. He was like all hot and heavy for you in the beginning and really interested in pursuing you, and now he's like dropped off the face of the earth because it's not convenient for him.
Right.
Game over to that.
Right. He'll be back when he's good and ready.
Ooh,
but I call
I say you're
massive
busy
game
that
over.
night.
See, but here's the hook, right?
I say you screen his calls. I say you don't answer his texts. Go ahead.
But that's the hook. So she will then drop back, and all he'll want is to be with her.
And that's not a sign to re-engage.
No, it's not. It's a sign for you to
game
drop back
over.
even further.
Yeah, game over.
Yeah,
I love myself. I respect myself. I am acting accordingly to treat myself with the love and respect I deserve.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And that way you can... people will never respect what... You don't respect yourself. They will never respect you unless you respect yourself.
You're so tweetable today. Love it.
Tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow from Vegas, the drunk show.
The drunk show. Can you tell that...
The drunk show.
The drunk show.
Please.
Tomorrow we're talking about...
my liquor.
Tomorrow we're going to be talking about if opposites attract, is it game on or game over?
Yeah.
And we're going to be doing that libation enhanced. So join us.
That's going to be
you
on.
Dare.
I know, right?
Tomorrow from the lobby of
a
random hotel or in the bar.
There you go.
Until tomorrow.
I'm liking the sound of that.
This has been the Game Over Show. I'm Charles Gerlando.
And I'm Lisa Stedman.
I'll see you tomorrow in Vegas.
Bye. Did you just...